Hi everyone, welcome to episode 9 of my podcast, They're Not Mine. This is a podcast series about life with kids through the eyes of an auntie, among other things. So it's been a journey across these episodes as I've shared my story of being Aunty Tan to Annie, Ayla, Caden, Talon and Riley. And I really want to thank you for coming on this journey with me. All right, let's get everyone up to speed with a quick previously on. It's towards the end of 2012 and the cousin clan is complete. It's a gang of 5. It's been time of newness. There is joy in the ordinary and there are some pending trips to Kennard's storage. All right, let's get on with the episode. For me, traditions are really important, particularly with family. For me, they anchor me. I get a sense of belonging. And I love the nostalgia that comes with traditions. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Didn't you already try a tradition? Yep, I had a failed attempt with the Aunty Tan haircuts. I mean, that pretty well started and stopped with Annie. And for those of you who may not have seen that, check out episode 5. It's full of laughs, locks and lice. You see, I was really eager to have a tradition that would stick for good. So I decided every year I wanted to take my nieces and nephews away for a weekend. And the name of this epic event? Well, the Aunty Tan and Cousins holiday. Okay, I get it, not terribly creative, but at least the kids would know what they're in for. Holiday with their cousins and Aunty Tan. Now, at the time of planning this inaugural weekend away, Annie was 8, Ayla was 6, Caden was 4 years and 11 months, Talon was 4 years and 8 months, and little man Riley, well, he was only maybe 8 months old. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Is this woman mad? Is she crazy? Is she honestly going to take 5 kids under the age of 9 that are not her own away for a weekend? Well, yes, sort of. You see, I decided I had to bench Riley. He was just too little. Now, I have to hand it to my sister-in-law, Tanya. God love her. She tried to put forward some really strong arguments like, look, trust me, he's little, he won't take up much room, he doesn't eat that much, and he won't put up much of an argument. He'll go with the flow. Yeah, nice try, Tan. I'm sorry, the kid was going to have to stay at home. I was sticking to the 4. Look, I really wanted this tradition to stick, and I was fearful that if I took the 5 of the kids along, it may not get past a soft launch. The last thing I needed was a police report filed because the hotel manager has found 2 4-year-old boys joyriding in the industrial dryers because the adult responsible, Aunty Tan, is distracted dealing with a catastrophic emotional meltdown of an 8-month-old also in her care. Sorry, Riley, not this year. The discussions with my siblings were lengthy in the lead up. I mean, once we got past, are you sure this is what you really want to do? We moved very quickly to the logistics, like what will be the sleeping arrangements? Have you thought of car seats? What about toilet stops? You've got 2 little boys and 2 little girls. What about meals and the allergies and the dietary requirements? Look, I assured them that I had thought it all through. And I had explained to them that this weekend away was going to be a drive and drop. Once we checked into the hotel, no further transportation was going to be required. And I decided for our first weekend away together, we were going to stay in the heart of Sydney City. In fact, the most perfect option, the Rocks. The lead up to the weekend was exciting, and in fact I decided I wanted to send an email invitation to the kids telling them about the weekend. Now, for the sanity of my siblings, I chose not to send the email until it was 3 sleeps out from the weekend. Actually, I've got the email here. To Annie, Ayla, Caden and Talon. I'm really excited about all of us spending the weekend together. We're going to have lots of fun, and guess what? We're staying in a beautiful hotel in the city, the Key West Suites. We'll see the Harbour Bridge, the Opera House, and lots of other fun stuff. Here's a list of things that Mummy needs to pack for you, and here are the details of where we're staying for Daddy and what time we're going to meet. See you on Saturday. Lots of love, Aunty Tan. So Saturday arrived. Annie was with me. We went and picked up Talon. I picked up Riley and gave him a hug and said, please understand. And we met Ayla and Caden at the Key West apartments in the Rocks. We walked into our suite and we were met with sweeping views of Sydney Harbour. I mean, it was just amazing. There was Sydney Harbour Bridge, we had views of the Opera House and all the colour and movement on Sydney Harbour. I mean, I have to say, two thoughts immediately came to mind. One, this is absolutely spectacular. And two, I wonder if the kids will really appreciate this. Man, I have never been so wrong so fast. Within minutes, the 4 kids had their faces pressed up against the window. I mean, there were squeals of delight coming from left, right and centre. Aunty Tan, check out the ferry on the harbour. Or, Aunty Tan, I can see people walking across the harbour bridge. Or, hey, look down there, the people look like ants. And you know what? When you looked, they did. I mean, we were on the 29th floor. It was a bold move. And I have to say, I'm the one that sucked it up. I'm the one that has the fear of heights. This window to the outside was better than any TV. And I have to say, we binged on Sydney Harbour all weekend. Now, I had prepared many, many snacks for the weekend, as well as a picnic lunch, and thought we'll go to the botanical gardens. But the kids had another idea. They were adamant. They did not want to leave the apartment. Let's have the picnic at the table, Aunty Tan. They just wanted to enjoy the view. I have to say, I hadn't really thought through the logistics of carrying the picnic rugs, the food, the drinks, and holding at least a couple of sets of hands while we manoeuvred the streets of Sydney on a Saturday morning. It was probably one of the best picnics I've ever had. Now, to state the obvious, when you got 4 kids and 1 adult for the entire weekend, you need to have some rules. Now, with kids, the list of rules has to be short, and that way they can be stressed as being really important, really vital. So I decided on 2 rules for the weekend with these kids. 1, when Aunty Tan says stop, you stop. And 2, when we leave the hotel, you must hold hands with somebody else in our group. Now, the reason I had to stress in our group was Ayla had a delightful habit of making friends with anyone. The picnic lunch was a success. The rules have been laid down. So off we go, out of the hotel, out to the streets of Sydney to enjoy the city at its absolute finest. We walked around Circular Quay and the Opera House. We took a train ride through the botanical gardens. We ate ice creams while we watched an Indigenous man play the didgeridoo. It was fantastic. We had a great time. Along the way, people would often lean in and chat to us, and that was always great fun. In fact, the train ticket clerk said to the kids, "Hey, you guys are lucky that Mum's taking you on a train ride." To which Caden immediately responded with, "She's not our mum." Like, no explanation, nothing, just full stop. The kids got it a lot and would often giggle, "Aunty Tan, that lady thinks you're our mum." And of course, I would always call on my catchphrase, "They're not mine." Well, that and 1,000 other instructions. Everyone put your hats on. Everyone put your jackets on. Everyone take a drink of water. Yes, you can take your jackets off. No, you can't leave your jackets on the ground. The seagulls and pigeons will get to them. I mean, look, the instructions generally were pretty simple, but they were falling on the ears of 4 very unique little human beings with their own interpretation of what Aunty Tan was saying. And speaking of little human beings, I spent the weekend counting off. 1, 2, 3. Where's Talon? Talon was notorious for just wandering off. He would either lag behind or he'd completely break rank and file and exit stage left. Where would he wander to? Could be to look at a sculpture, he'd find a fountain, it could be a shiny object that just moved in the sun. So managing toilet stops came up in the discussion in the preparations with my siblings. And I'm sure some of you are sitting out there listening, yeah, this will be interesting. How did she handle toilet stops with 4 little kids, 2 boys and 2 girls, over the weekend? Well, one thing I learnt with my little posse, that if one wanted to go to the bathroom, I would always check in with the other 3. Who else wants to go to the toilet? I'd get responses like, "No, thanks, Aunty Tan. Nope, I'm good. No, thank you." It'd be like, okay, one at a time. So only one child would go to the bathroom. And then sure enough, 20 minutes later, another child would want to go to the bathroom. 40 minutes passed, another one would want to go to the bathroom. So you can imagine, bathroom stops became a primary activity for us over the weekend. Now, the toilet fun reached its pinnacle on the high seas early that afternoon. We did what any good visitor to Sydney Harbour would do. We took a ferry ride. I didn't care about where we were going. To me, it was about the duration of the ride and not the destination. And I asked the ticket guy, what's the longest trip? He said, return to Watson's Bay. I said, fabulous, I'll take 5 tickets. The kids raced to the top deck and there was squealing and pointing out things to each other, and there were reenactments of Kate and Leo. And we were having so much fun until, back to the toilet. Talon needed to go. Now, I had 2 challenges. 1, I had 3 other kids to take care of. And 2, the men's toilet on a ferry is no place for 2 little boys and 2 young girls. So I made the only decision I thought I could. I put the 8-year-old in charge. I stressed to Annie, Ayla and Caden, you are to remain seated here. You are not to go outside. You're not to go back up to the top deck. You are to stay here. Do you understand? When I come back, I want to see you sitting in the same position. Is this really clear? And they were like, yes, Aunty Tan, yes, Aunty Tan. In fact, as I looked up, I could see the passengers in rows 2 to 6 nodding, yes, Aunty Tan, we won't move. I took 1 deep breath. I grabbed Talon's hand and we raced to the bathroom. I got to hand it to the kid. He must have picked up on the sense of urgency and that I was fearful about leaving the kids for too long. He stepped straight into the men's toilet and I waited outside. Now, I have to say, this is Saturday afternoon and the waves on the harbour are starting to pick up and the ferry's starting to get a decent rock and roll motion. In fact, there were a couple of times I was kind of clinging on in the corridor, nearly in a starfish position, bracing myself. Now, I do Pilates. I can hold a plank for 30 seconds. My core is pretty good. But at times it was really rocky. And I was starting to then wonder, I hope the other 3 kids are okay, seated, waiting for us. And as one last set of waves rolled through, I hear the click of the door. Tal walks out, smile on his face, thumbs up, and we race back to the other 3 kids. I got to hand it to them. The 3 of them had not moved. They were still in their same seated positions. But now they're chatting to an 8-month-old little girl sitting on her mum's lap. I smiled, thought, thank you. I took my seat and then Caden turned to me and said, Aunty Tan, I need to go to the bathroom. Of course you do. We finally pulled into Circular Quay, but that wasn't the end of the day. I had some more activities lined up for the kids. I was determined to wear them out so that they slept well, which meant we all would sleep well. Fat chance, that was never going to happen. Next stop, the hotel pool. So with everyone wearing their cozies, aka swimming costumes, we piled into the pool area. That poor, unfortunate couple sitting in the spa, relaxing, expecting a nice quiet afternoon, well, they made an immediate beeline for the exit. I'm really sorry if you're listening. We ended up having the entire indoor pool deck to ourselves. It was fantastic. I found a pole to strategically position myself so I could watch the pool as well as watch the activity in the spa just to the left. And the kids were going from the warm bubbles of the spa into the cold water of the pool and back again. I mean, I guess, isn't this what adults pay today for anti-aging benefits? One of the things that I noticed when I did come in was there was a sign directly above the spa. And the sign said, do not put your head underwater. Do not open your eyes underwater. The hotel will not be responsible for any illnesses contracted. You don't have to tell me twice. I'm not going in that spa. I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. You may remember episode 5 when I'm crawling around the floor of a department store looking for the lost baby doll. Well, I have to say spas are kind of at the top of my list of things I don't like to do. I just don't like spas. My family knows it, close friends know it. A relaxing weekend away with the lure of a spa at the end of the day? Nope, never going to do it. For me, it is a warm, swirling pool of growing God knows what. Never, ever, ever going to happen. And then, sure enough, 2 minutes later, the kids yell out, come on, Aunty Tan, get in the spa with us. I thought, no, I just can't. I'll just stand here and see if they ask again. Sure enough. Aunty Tan, come on, you can do it. Come in the spa with us. I took a couple of steps towards the spa, thinking if they kept playing amongst themselves, they'd be distracted and would forget that they've asked me. Nope, one more time. Come on, Aunty Tan, it's great fun. So I took a deep breath and I stepped into the spa. For the love of these kids only, I got in. I could only do it up to my thighs. My insides were crawling. I hate spas, but I love these kids. So after 180 seconds, I got back out of the spa. Thank God kids have no real sense of time. I'm back standing against the pole, watching the pool and watching the spa. Now, the girls were in the pool and they're capable swimmers. The boys, they're relaxing and enjoying the spa with strict instructions not to go past the second step. Now, the girls love dancing, they love singing, they're always putting on impromptu concerts. So now they're in the pool doing impersonations of Ester Williams. The boys, they're boiling away like a couple of 84-year-olds in a Turkish bathhouse. I go back to looking at the girls, they're showing me their latest moves. I glance back at the boys. Why, I only see one boy. It's Talon. Where's Caden? I absolutely panic. I immediately jump into the spa and I break all the rules. I'm completely under the water, my eyes are wide open, and I'm using my arms and my hands and my legs and feet, and I'm feeling around trying to find Caden. I come up for air, I take a breath, and I go back down again. Again, eyes wide open. I'm searching every nook and cranny. Where is he? Panicking inside. I come up again, and as I come up, I look, and there I can see him standing behind the pole where I'd been the entire time. It took me back to the time I thought I'd lost Annie in Target. I mean, I'm sure some of you know this feeling. It's absolutely petrifying. So with a deep breath, I pulled all the kids to the side of the pool and I said, okay, here's another rule. No one is to get out of the pool or the spa without asking Aunty Tan first. Do you all understand me? And I was greeted with a chorus of, yes, Aunty Tan, and the water activities continued. All right, so if you're playing along at home, you probably realise I'm up to probably 5 rules now, and we've only been together about 6.5 hours for this holiday weekend. So much for a 2-rule weekend. We returned to our suite for warm showers, and then everyone ultimately got cosy in their pyjamas. Dinner, it was room service. It was a treat and it was fantastic for Aunty Tan. We took a break from enjoying Sydney Harbour by night. You see, I'd promised the kids that we could watch an in-house movie. But this was now going to be a lesson in majority rules. So I explained to the kids, we go through and look at all the different movies that are available in the kids category, but either all 4 have to vote for the same movie or 3 have to vote for it. This is majority rules. They all nodded. It took 20 minutes. Well, I had one wanted one movie, 2 wanted another, and the 4th one wanted something else. And then I'd get 2 and 2. And then finally we landed. 3 voted for Transylvania. The majority rules. Sorry, Caden. We were having a great night together. Well, I've got to admit, there were a couple of cases of windburned faces from doing Titanic reenactments in the ferry that afternoon, and it involved a lot of cold flannels during the course of the night. But generally, it was a great night. The next morning, I took the opportunity to introduce another tradition. After breakfast, I put a sketchbook in front of each of the kids. I placed stickers, coloured pencils, and coloured textures on the table. And I said to the kids, these are your Aunty Tan and cousin's holiday diary. And you guys can draw pictures, you can use stickers, you can write stories about anything we've done, anything we've seen so far on this holiday weekend. And they thought it was fantastic. They were yelling out, how do you spell harbour, Aunty Tan? Are there 2 R's in ferry? Is this a good picture of a shark, says Caden. I'm thinking, shark, did we see a shark? Oh yeah, we talked about them while we were on the ferry. And I explained to the kids that Aunty Tanny was going to keep the diaries at the end of the weekend, and then next year when we have our next holiday, I'd give them back. and you get to write more stories and draw new pictures of your next adventures together. And my plan was to give the kids their diary at their 21st birthday. It was safe to say the inaugural Aunty Tan and Cousins holiday was going really well. I think this tradition is going to stick. And you know what? It did. In fact, on another Aunty Tan and Cousins holiday, several years from now, a life-changing moment would happen for me personally. But that's a story for another time. I hope you join me next week for episode 10, the last episode of season 1 of They're Not Mine. See you soon.